Hey guys, today we're going to do our 1,000-mile review on the Tiger 1050. Let's get started. One 1,000 miles. That's how much this Tiger and I have ridden together over the last few months. Especially during Corona times, it's given me a lot of opportunities to ride, and this has been a wonderful partner. So today we'll just go over some of my impressions on the motorcycle, my thoughts. We'll go over the engine, suspension, braking, ergos, and what it's like to live with. So let's get started. This engine is a 1050cc triple, so 3 cylinders inline. It produces 115 horsepower and 79 foot-pounds of torque on a 450-pound frame. By far, one of my favorite items on this motorcycle is the way the power delivery comes off of this triple. I've owned over 26 different motorcycles, and so far the triple configuration has been my favorite. And this motor is one of those prime examples of blend power and torque. So by far, my favorite attribute of this motor, or of this motorcycle. 115 horsepower on a 450-pound bike, it's plenty of power. This thing will hit triple digits really quickly without you really having to work that hard to get it up there and keep it up there. This motorcycle in the ergos with the wind protection is very, very comfortable at speeds up to triple digits with this. So motor is fantastic. I've never personally done it, but this bike is rated for 134 miles per hour max speed. Now, to me, that's pretty funny because you're doing it completely upright with comfortable ergos and huge wind protection and luggage at 134 miles an hour. That just seems crazy, but it can do it. It also does the quarter mile in 11.5 and probably 0 to 60 really quickly. So either way, power department, it's fantastic. Now, all that power is useless if you don't have the right suspension configuration to support all that power. This motorcycle, as I've ridden it now 1,000 miles, I'm realizing had actually a significant amount of suspension performance to it. So I'll review it as that. This has progressive springs in the front. It with race tech tuned front suspension, and same thing with the rear. I have taken this up through the canyons, and this bike handled flawlessly. Really stable in the corners. I can lean it in, hold the line, and apply power, and it's completely stable throughout the corner. When I do two-up riding, it supports it just fine. I don't feel the suspension bottoming out, sagging, or anything like that. This is an adventure bike on paper, so it's meant to load up with luggage and another rider. So the suspension on this is ample. It can support myself. I'm 180 pounds. My girlfriend is like 125, and we've done it with some luggage, and suspension handles beautifully. When it comes to braking, this motorcycle has 4-piston dual front disc brakes. These are 320 millimeters with ABS, and I can tell you, I love it. This bike stops so quickly for being how big it is at 455 pounds. These Nissan brakes work flawlessly. Unfortunately, I have been in situations where I had to engage ABS, and they were lifesavers. The front chattered as you would expect with ABS. The rear sputtered along like it's supposed to, and it kept me from dumping the bike. So as far as brakes and the ABS system on this bike, it's great. It is 13 years old, so I have felt smoother ABS systems, but ABS is one of those things you don't think you need, and then you are in a situation where you use it and you're like, what could have happened if I didn't have it? So I'm incredibly thankful that the ABS system on this bike works great. When it comes to ergonomics, I am 5'10", 180 pounds, so a pretty normal, average sized guy. So as far as ergo, this bike is very upright. As you can see, I am very good posture, and my hands are nicely placed to the front. As far as knees, I end up hitting right around this like soft plastic section. So pretty good ergos. There is a separation from the passenger, so you don't get too much of that seat slide if it was like a more of a banana seat. So there's a nice little separation there. There's also a small lip here that is very relaxing as far as longer rides. So you can kind of just engage that a little bit. It's also great for heavy accelerations, which with this engine you'll do often. So that catches you pretty good, especially if the front wheel starts picking up, which is pretty easy on this bike. So you have a good position there. Foot position, right below you. Foot pegs have a rubber bit on it that does get a little bit slippery when it gets wet. So that's just gotta deal with, or either upgrade them if you're doing any off-roading. But these would be terrible in any type of off-roading situation. But you know, for a street bike, they're pretty good. Reach is good on the brake pedal and the shifter like normal. Hands come up, really neutral, comfortable on the back. As far as two up, I'm on the center stand, so as far as two up, they sit way above you. My head is about here when she rides with me, and she sits significantly above it. A few things that she struggles with when she sits back here. It's too uncomfortable for her to be that high up. She just feels odd and unprotected. So usually when I do two up, I will put the side bags on, and it makes her feel a little bit safer. But it is nice, she gets a little backrest here, because I do have a hard case in the rear. But unfortunately, when the side bags are on here, there isn't any usable handles for her, for your passenger, and they often do hold on to you. And since they're so high up, putting the hand on the tank is a little bit harder. It's a far reach for my passenger. So just a few small things when it comes to two-up riding. Just assume they're gonna use you as the main bracing point. When I am at a stop, I'm 5'10" with my pants are like 33, 30, so I more or less am flat foot, like a 1/4 inch on the heel. Pretty stable. The bike is heavy. The bike is a bit top heavy. It's 455 pounds, and with a full tank of gas, this is 5 gallons. You feel it. So I put it down before slowly, and that's why my windshield's broken. But just be mindful that this does get heavy, especially if you're on a slippery surface. This gets top heavy. As far as controls, pretty basic stuff. You've got your horn, turn signals, high beam, low beam. You do have a passing flicker trigger here, which is nice. This bike is the touring upgraded version, so I do get crash guards. They're not load-bearing hand guards. There isn't a metal beam behind it. It's just plastic. So that's the hand guards. Mirrors broke, so gotta get that fixed. Very upright bar position, as you saw. On the right-hand side, you just have the standard kill switch, electric start. Your levers do have adjustment on here. These are the stock levers with 4-position adjustment. Down here is where your key position is. Pretty normal here. And as far as the dash, you get quite a bit of screens on your left-hand side. You've got stopwatch, miles per hour. Here's your time, MPG. This is your average MPG. This is my favorite one that I use. This is miles to empty. For the most part, this here just says miles to empty. Neutral, high beam, turn signals, low fuel light. You have a fuel range, which is pretty nice, and a temperature range. On the right here, standard tach, ABS light, which is always on until you start moving. And down here are your trips. For the most part, the Tiger 1050 is a regular motorcycle. You change your oil every 3,000 miles. At 6,000, you're supposed to do the throttle body balance. At 12,000, every 12,000 miles, that's your big one. That's the one where you're gonna have to check valve clearances, replace your air filter, oil change, spark plugs, and valve clearance. As far as cost of all those things, if you want to do it yourself, it's incredibly reasonable. This thing is a completely different story, but the Triumph Tiger, since it shares the platform with the Speed Triple, parts are pretty readily available. I bought my filter from Amazon. It was cheaper than O'Reilly or the auto parts. I got my Fram oil filter here from Amazon, shipped to my house. No big deal. It uses regular motorcycle synthetic oil. So maintenance is really not an issue with this bike. I've got 44,000 miles on it, and it honestly feels great. There's no rattles, pings, knocks, or nothing like that. So 1,000 miles. After 1,000 miles, what do I think about this motorcycle? Well, the more I ride it, the more I'm realizing how much of a pleasure and joy this bike is to ride. It's safer than the other bikes I've ridden with the ABS that has saved my butt before. It's comfortable. The ergos here are as upright as you can get. I've got good wind protection. My knuckles don't freeze during winter. My girlfriend loves riding in the back because she's got more space than before, and if she's comfortable riding, that means she'll ride with me more, which is always a benefit. As far as power, 120 horsepower, 115 is addicting and plenty for me, so I'm good with the amount of horsepower it has. And the suspension is great. I'm able to take it to the canyons, hit fire trails, hit long rides, commute to work on it. So this is overall one of those do-it-all type of. I have no regrets as far as the money that I've spent into it. I still think it's one of those underrated best value in the used motorcycle market today. For $3,500, which is what I spent on this bike, you're competing in categories in the AVV world of like an old V-Strom 650 or a Versus, and if you compare those bikes to this, I mean, it's out of the water. It's not even close. So this bike, if you get a chance, so with this bike, if you get a chance to get yourself one of these, or you're on the edge of thinking of getting one, and it's reasonably priced, get it. This is a steal for what I bought it for. The only thing that's not too great about it is the range. I got 5 gallons on this thing, and I ran out of gas at like 150 miles. My KLR was like pushing almost 200. So, given the size of this tank, I feel like I should get more. Maybe after I do the big maintenance cycle on this bike, it'll get a little bit better. But yeah, I was disappointed in that. I thought I'd get a lot more range. Yeah, if you get a chance, get yourself one of these. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. And if you have one of these or are thinking about getting one, comment below. I love talking to you guys about motorcycles. So see you guys later.